In case you somehow didn't see it, the internet has been losing their minds recently because the White House decided to use memes with Microsoft's flagship series, Halo. This has caused a lot of reactions, both hilarious and kind of annoying, but it's also proving how a lot of these people seemingly don't really understand what Halo even is in the first place. And of course, people like Angry Joe of all people have now come after me, which I know people wanted me to respond to in video form, so here we are doing that right now. But some context first, so here's one of those memes used by the White House, which shows Trump wearing Master Chief's armor while outside the White House, and this, well, it angered a lot of people. However, what really started this all in the first place was this post by GameStop, where they confirmed that the console wars are officially over. And that's when the White House replied with that Trump Master Chief meme in the first place, and like I said, this all caused a ruckus. But it reached another fever point because whoever controls the White House's social media is a 10 out of 10 troll who knows exactly how to push the buttons of their political opposition. That was this post here with the Halo rings with the words "join ICE" and "destroy the Flood," which, in case you somehow don't know what the Flood is, they're a monstrous race of mindless zombie-like aliens that's only purpose is to consume other life at any cost. This, well, it made people mad. It also exposed people for having zero media literacy and proving that they have no idea what Halo is even really about in the first place. Anyway, this then led to Angry Joe saying this, which I'm gonna censor some words because Joe has a very foul mouth on him, but this is what he said. F ICE and F Donald Trump, get the F out of here with using Halo for your crappy dehumanizing police state propaganda. No one thinks your crap is cool besides low IQ her MAGA cult members on X, half of which are bots. Y'all gonna find out soon in the next election. This then led to people responding like friend of the channel George Alexopoulos, who said that Joe was a Flood sympathizer, which, I mean, come on, that's funny. And Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, who came in with a JD Vance Master Chief dropping on a planet meme, which is also funny. Like, come on, that is funny. And you had other users like this one saying that it must be hard time for Joe with Trump shaking hands with Master Chief, which that image has been shared everywhere now as well, but it's great too. But what I found interesting is that people like Angry Joe and many like him from Mighty Keef and Actman, they all never really say anything when games are being used as political bludgeoning tools in days past until seemingly right now. It's almost as if because the shoe is on the other foot, the conservative foot to be exact, now it is suddenly a problem that must be eradicated at all costs. But when these types were destroying your favorite games and pushing all sorts of nonsense, the very same people from Angry Joe, Actman, and many more, they never said anything against it. Instead, they just agreed with it and championed it even. Sure, Joe at least has spoken for players when it comes to companies being greedy. I mean, his whole shtick is screaming autistically at loud volumes to get his point across. But these guys never really did or say anything to change the true trajectory of games as a whole from being full-blown communist slop like it usually was in the last few years. Which I have, obviously, as it's well documented on this channel, as well as other people, but they hate me for doing that. Anyway, so I responded to Angry Joe, and this is what I said, as I said here. Be Angry Joe. Mad Halo was used by conservatives. Composer of series is conservative. Game's entire plot is a religious allegory. Flood, Ark, Halo, all Bible references. Plot is defeating beings who invade and impose their religion and ways upon humanity against their will. Sound familiar? Point of series goes over his head. These people are, well, you know. And as of this video anyways, Joe's post has about 25,000 likes and mine hilariously managed over 30,000 already. So, my bad, Joe. Didn't mean to outrage you there, but I mean, you don't understand Halo at all. Like, let's be real, because the game was made by people who aren't just liberals like they do these days. Again, Marty O'Donnell, the composer I referenced who did the music for the Halo series under Bungie and Destiny before he left, of course, is an outspoken conservative man. He's also running for Congress again. As you can see, this is Marty's Twitter page. I'm buddies with Marty. I've had him on the channel before too. Just go look at my live stream page. I have an entire interview with Marty and Grums, for crying out loud. Anyway, I out-ratioed Joe. My bad, I guess. But then he got really butthurt and then responded to me again while I was doing a live stream at the time. But here's what Joe said, which is a mess of words. I apologize, and he doesn't really know how to meme properly, but let me read you his word salad response, which says, B. Enmion, didn't even say my name right, Endymion, Joe, by the way, but anyway, and clutches his pearls because someone he doesn't know dislikes Donald Trump and how ICE has conducted themselves. Breaking into people's homes without warrants, arresting U.S. citizens, profiling, ramming slamming people off roads, killing people by mistake, bullying with badges. Lick their boots like a good little boy by jumping to defend a stupid meme usage, whine and cry that others stand up against what they consider dumb BS, that's rich coming from him by the way. Bring up a bunch of unrelated points about Halo like religious themes, its music, game plot, the soundtrack's composer, and stupid stuff to defend literal propaganda from the government. Because he has no idea what he's talking about and got his feelings hurt about a tweet completely unrelated to him, what have you become? Be a general snowflake about other people not liking ICE recruitment propaganda using stuff without permission like they did with Pokemon, he spelled it wrong by the way, can't even spell Pokemon. Calls other words like a big boy on the internet while making points to defend a trash meme. Did I miss anything? Pathetic, dude, you are better than this. No one has a problem with conservatives here. I also have conservative views. This propaganda poster was created by a mass police force, alluding to human beings being the mutated flood which the UNSC destroys and kills with prejudice. But it's just a meme from an official professional government account that attracts a certain type of person, clearly you. That's cool, man. God bless your righteous mission though. Keep licking those boots. Okay, I then responded, as you can see here, to Joe again, almost reaching the same amount of likes as his post. Here's what I said to Joe. Oh, I really pissed you off, didn't I? Sorry to say, Joe, but your beloved Halo series wasn't made by just people who agree with you politically 100%. Halo is a religious game. It comes with the fact that it's called Halo, Joe. I don't even hate you, but you got to admit that it's funny. Plus, the government can use anything they want. I'm not even defending the government here. I just find it funny you're so mad about them using Halo. Your reviews are good though, so credit where it's due. And yes, I was not defending the government either way with my statement. I was laughing at Angry Joe because he failed to understand what Halo represented as a franchise, and its story, and its themes, because he was mad that people he disagreed with or were using it as memes. He somehow took what I was saying and then chalked it up to that I am an ICE sympathizer, which is kind of hilarious because nowhere in my response do the words ICE even appear once, but what I did say was that governments of any kind can use any memes that they want. It comes with the territory that memes are allowed to be used by anyone. Like, I can use a meme of Ghost of Yote, even if the lead actor is an Antifa lover. It's just a meme. But you seem very butthurt, Angry Joe, that the White House is using Halo memes without really understanding what Halo even is. So now let's dissect everything and dive into that now. So Halo is literally a religious allegory and is based on Christian or even Catholic views depending on who you ask. It is not 100% Christian or Catholic, but it cannot be denied that clearly elements and themes from those religious dogmas have had significant effects and influences on the Halo games. I mean, the obvious thing is the name of the literal Halo, you know, like an angel's halo. The enemy is called the Flood. Like as in the Bible, the flood wipes out all life in a massive torrential storm, and the only thing that can save life is an ark. You know, like how in Halo they use a literal ark in their game to save against the enemy that is literally called the Flood? Again, it's so on the nose, it's kind of ridiculous. Some people have also pointed out that Master Chief's name even means religious overtones, like his real name is John 117. If you ask Google for information on this, Google's AI says this: Master Chief's name is believed to reference biblical verses like John 1:17. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ, with the John and the number 117 symbolizing grace and truth delivered through a human agent. He is portrayed as a reluctant savior, a light in the darkness who sacrifices himself for humanity, mirroring Jesus Christ's role. In some interpretations, John 1:17 can be seen as a precursor or a messenger for a larger salvation, similar to John the Baptist's role in relation to Jesus. I mean, the religious allegories don't even end there. In the beginning of Halo 2, for example, after Chief blows up the Halo installation in the previous game and disgraces the Covenant forces, what ends up happening to the guy in charge of those forces that failed? The Arbiter, whose name in Latin, by the way, literally translates to eyewitness or onlooker or person appointed to settle a dispute, is stripped of his armor in front of a roaring crowd of other aliens, is placed in a Christ-like nailing to the cross position, and is then branded by his own people as a sacrifice to, you know, be, I guess, made an example of his people's failings. Like I said, Halo is not very subtle about any of this, not to mention you have the other major enemy of the Halo games, under Bungie anyways, which in all honesty, by the way, the only Halo games that really exist in my opinion are what Bungie has made, not 343, but that's a topic for another time anyways. But the other major enemy besides the Flood is of course the Covenant, another on-the-nose name where the Covenant is an amalgamation of various alien races all united under a single religious dogma that forces them all to believe in a false prophet-like God. Need I remind you that Halo was created originally in 2001. While it unfortunately came out the same year that 9/11 happened, around this time the American zeitgeist was firmly placed against that of Islam and the Middle Eastern countries. That can't be disputed. After all, we know all about the war in Afghanistan that erupted following 9/11, and like most art, it's influenced by whatever happens around it. Halo, like I said, was born in a time of deep American patriotism and rejection of outside world influences. So it's no real wonder that Master Chief, a literal soldier who is beholden to the military-industrial complex with religious connotations to his name, is fighting actual biblically named foes on a literal floating angel Halo ring as a conglomerate of alien species that are not human try to invade and destroy humanity's way of life by imposing their religion and beliefs upon them. I mean, you have people like Jamie Gressimer, I hope I said his name right, but that's this guy on screen here, which if you're a Halo fan, you recognize Jamie 100%. This dude has been there since the beginning of the series. He was the gameplay design lead on the entire franchise. So if you love how Halo plays, feels, and is, yeah, it's cause of Jamie pretty much, alright? He was in a ton of Bungie's vidocs too, which if you're a Halo fan, you have definitely seen yourselves many times. I know I have. But anyway, Jamie recently spoke on the Halo Campaign Evolved remake for PlayStation. How he has issues with its gameplay changes, like adding sprint for example, or removing geometry in the map. That's not relevant here, but Jamie at one point on Twitter recently got into discussions on what Halo meant, especially back then when it was first created. Jamie would respond to people about what Halo means and why the modern era has been so bad at adapting it, but here's what Jamie said. And I promise that this will all come back to Angry Joe being an absolute moron, but it's important to understand everything before Joe is proven wrong, but Jamie said this on Twitter. It's not the early 2000s anymore. Halo is of its time, maybe even more than any other game franchise. So they are constantly trying to either take Halo out of 2001 and modernize it, which breaks it, or take players back to 2001 with nostalgia, which is impossible. A user would then retweet Jamie saying this is exactly my thought. Halo belongs to the post 9/11 new atheist world. The quintessential Halo players was a Ron Paul 08 guy. Jamie would then reply to this person with this. Yeah, I wonder why inscrutable aliens blowing up Marines because it's the way to paradise according to their religious extremism resonated so strongly back then. Uh-oh, Jamie, you better watch what you're saying there because Angry Joe is not gonna like that at all. Are you insinuating that Halo is, as you said, a product of its time in 2001 when 9/11 happened? It was a space version of American patriotism, told through the viewpoint of a literal Marine who's now in space fighting against religious zealots from outside his nation who are trying to subjugate and destroy his way of life by imposing theirs onto them? Because if you are Jamie, the Angry Joe, for example, is going to be really angry about that, because Joe is also mad that the White House, which is currently ran by conservatives who are historically pro-military, pro-nationalism, actually patriotic about their country, anti-open borders, and against illegal immigration, and more on that, by the way, because, ooh, that's going to be bad for Joe too, but the exact opposite of, say, the leftist mindset, if you will, would perhaps find it appropriate to use Halo memes to promote their way of thinking, which again, I'm not defending ICE, but what I am defending is that you can't remove Halo as a concept down to its DNA from its roots as a conservative-minded product, no matter what Joe says. It doesn't mean that Halo wasn't also made by people who weren't, liberal, for example, no, but Halo was in fact made instead in a very much different way than, say, what happens these days usually in Western game studios. Before, games were made by all sorts of people. Didn't really matter what you thought or believed, it just came down to your raw talent. It's why it was a golden age of games. So many great games were made, and franchises got made in those years in particular. A lot of Western games now, though, are made by hive minds, primarily of the leftist archetype, let's be real. There's no point in denying it, really, because how often do we see that coded language and characters, and especially developers cheering for the passing of people like Charlie Kirk recently from so many studios already? We never really saw that before, did we? Yeah, it's because a lot of game studios in the West just hire people these days who all think the same. Gee, I wonder why so many games aren't as good as they were before, I guess. I mean, Halo especially has been co-opted by people who, frankly, would not even be considered to be working at OG Bungie if they tried to. For example, infamously, a dev at 343 Industries. Sorry, I mean Halo Studios because they rebranded because 343 has been disastrous, but anyways. Back in April 2023 claimed that he was uncomfortable working on Halo. You know, this series the entire studio he's employed at works on because it has guns in it, and no, I'm not kidding. And before I even show you what this guy says, I want you to take a guess and imagine what flags he has in his bio to show his political opinions. Just take a guess. I guarantee you'll probably be right 1 out of 3. But anyway, this Nick guy said, as you can see here, and look at those flags, I honestly don't think I could work on a game that glorifies or fantasizes modernized guns. COD, Battlefield, Rainbow Six. I've had moments I've struggled with Halo, but the weapons and world is pretty science fiction, which creates a large enough separation from reality. He then said, after people called him an idiot, locking down my account for the rest of the weekend, God forbid someone has complex thoughts and feelings about working on a game with guns after multiple mass shootings. Buddy, you work on Halo. You're working on a game where a space marine guy fights literal aliens that use religious zealot-like beliefs to justify destroying humanity. You can't claim that Halo is not against your beliefs or something. It came when it was called Halo. This is the new Halo Halo devs, by the way? Why are people who are afraid of guns and holding their stomachs in pain because Master Chief shoots aliens in the face with shotguns working on these games in the first place? No wonder Halo has been in such a terrible place since Bungie left. I mean, Halo 4 wasn't good, Halo 5 Guardians was rejected so poorly by the fans that 343 pretty much just abandoned the Guardians plotline entirely like it never happened, and Infinite did not in fact go on infinitely. Instead, it too didn't even meet Microsoft's expectations, and 343 was so disastrous they had mass layoffs which led to almost half of their studio being let go. They then rebranded because the 343 name had too much negative public sentiment attached to it, and now we have Halo Studios, who unfortunately is now making the new Halo 1 remake on Unreal Engine 5 of all things. God help us all. Hilarious though, I had Angry Joe sympathizers attacking me, claiming that I was wrong because Halo is actually Catholic and not Christian. I wish I was kidding, but let's walk slowly here for a second, okay? What is Catholicism a part of? Say it with me, folks. Christianity. Uh-oh, well that doesn't work for the narrative, does it? Like I said, okay, Angry Joe is mad that conservatives are using Halo as a meme, and the guy just does not understand Halo. Sure, Halo, like I said, was made by a various group of people with various beliefs, but to deny it has any connections to the very things Joe seems to be rallying against is just tone deaf at best. Plus, let's be real, it's not illegal for anyone to use a meme, not even a government. It's this thing called free use. You know, that law that protects everyone's content to be used on the internet? Like how Angry Joe makes his content, or I do as well. Joe, it doesn't matter what the government uses. It doesn't mean that the meme used needs to be taken literally as for them. It's a meme. It's a joke. You can have your opinions on ICE protests and whether ICE is good or bad for America, I guess. That is your free right to do so. I personally believe that immigration is fine if it's done in a legal sense, but if you're illegally entering a country, you are by definition breaking a major law of American society. You can clutch your pearls and cry all you want that these people wanted a better life. No one is saying they're not allowed to have that better life. All they are saying is that you need to go through the proper channels to then become an official citizen. Otherwise, you're breaking the law. That is not pro-fascist to say, Joe. That is common sense. The problem is that people like yourself, who are crazy, don't seem to be able to differ the objective reality versus that of the subjective. You can't seem to emulate your own thoughts in a proper manner. Although, to your credit at least, you are literally called Angry Joe for a reason. You just scream like a madman. Like, I get it. That is your thing. But you need to realize, Joe, that like other content creators who've come after me, you're not exactly equipped either ideologically, politically, or mentally to be having these sorts of conversations like this in a reasonable sense. I don't hate Angry Joe. I frankly don't care about him one way or another. I haven't watched his videos in a long time. I've seen some of them in the past, sure, but that was like 10 plus years ago, well before I even did this sort of thing myself. Joe is sort of like when Fighting Cowboy tried to come after me and I embarrassed him publicly too for not knowing what he was talking about either. You guys are content creators that just talk games as in like their mechanics and the price of them and whatnot, and that's totally fine. But you are not equipped whatsoever to have opinions that anyone should take seriously when it comes to things like this. Hilariously as well, Joe even says in his first response to me, which I'll highlight here so nobody can swindle and say that I'm lying or something, that you said, Joe, in your own response to me that you too have conservative views. So why are you so hell-bent on playing the jester for these people who clearly would throw you to the wolves if you also stepped out of line here? You and I both know the very people who might defend you, like maybe Mighty Queef, will hate you if you admit that you're a conservative. These people don't like anyone who doesn't think like them, so why even entertain them at all is the point. Plus, you're a Hispanic man of all things who clearly admits that he now has conservative views publicly, so you know that deep down in your heart that there is a rot and poison in society that has to be fixed. Why would you align yourself with the side that is pro-Antifa? Like, they're like Joker goons pretty much. And communist people that think it's in any way a good thing. The only reason why I think you would say these things is simple. You want to keep good graces with companies and other content creators so they don't dogpile you. The very same creators who again will throw you away the moment that you step out of line. They literally did the same thing to Colin Moriarty at Kinda Funny years ago. They canceled that guy over a joke, and then the industry raked him over the coals celebrating his defeat and departure from Kinda Funny. For example, Colin has Sacred Symbols, one of, if not the biggest PlayStation-centric podcast in the world. Sure, I mean he does. Yet PlayStation as a company doesn't want to work with them anyways because he's a conservative apparently. When are you going to realize that these people, whether they're in the industry or whatever else, they don't like you if you step out of line even once? Maybe you're afraid of that, and that's why you're thinking by attacking me that you can prove to them that you're one of the good little soldiers, even though again you lost. I outrated you like multiple times. And like even your own commentators are clowning on you too in your own comments. Like, where was this energy for being so anti-politics and being pro-Halo apparently when 343 was pushing rainbow flags and propaganda slop all over Halo? Like, Joe, I can even prove it to you by using your own words and tangible data against you. here's what you said in response to me after I outratioed you, but this is what you said. Dude, wait, are you actually effing stupid? I never said anything about Halo not being a religious game. I never even mentioned religion in my original tweet that triggered your snowflake ass. You brought up religion to somehow defend the government use of the meme. How? LOL. I just took issue with the government using Halo to engage in dumb culture wars to divide us. I take it back. You literally aren't better than this, calling me things and dumb off rip, all while you are over here arguing with yourself about Halo's religion. Maybe you should change your name to dumbass. Interesting, Joe. Well, here's how I responded again to that very same thing you just said, but here's what I said to you. What's wrong, Angry Joe? You don't like it when your favorite franchises are used for propaganda? And sorry, my bad. I almost double ratioed you as this video being made, by the way. But no, Joe, you clearly are just not equipped for this sort of fight. The fact you've never called out or defended Halo against the tiring brigade of slop nonsense thrown its way that has rightfully so alienated its fan base and drove the very same franchise into the dirt both thematically and culturally over time, that tells us everything. That you, people like Ackman or Mighty Shill, they don't really speak for the players. You guys are, let's be real, you guys are fence sitters. You just kind of say whatever is politically thought to be correct at the time because again, you don't want to lose your access or your sponsorships, right, Mighty Shill with Ghost of Yote? We all know what you did there. But how do I know? Look at your own profile, Joe. You publicly say that you're powered by G Fuel Energy. That's interesting. The very same company that cut ties with me, by the way, because they said that my views were problematic, which is just another way of saying, sorry, your views are too conservative or whatever they want to say for us to be associated with them. How can you stand there and think that you're some sort of moral arbiter of justice when the companies you're aligned with have severed ties with people based on their political leanings? Which is true, by the way. Here's that post and the email that I made a while back when G Fuel decided to sever ties with me, by the way, because I wasn't representative of their brand, unlike Angry Joe here, for example. So why didn't you come to my defense then, Joe? I thought you had conservative views. Why didn't you ever come to the defense of Halo fans who said they don't think, caping their entire beloved franchise in virtue signaling nonsense was against the core identity of what Halo as a franchise meant in the first place? Why are you only ever upset when literally anything pushes against the status quo that you've spent years ignoring yourself to even push back against even a little bit out of fear of being ostracized? It's cause you're a fence sitter. You, like a lot of companies, actually seem to just stand for seemingly nothing at all. Your actual views and ideals are nothing but what's politically correct at any given time, pretty much. I guarantee you, if the Democrats won and they started deporting people en masse, you would be cheering it from the rooftops with your shirt twisted into a crop top with pom-poms. Because you literally stand for nothing but what is socially acceptable, and that's it. And to also prove my point further that you have actually, cheered for people that do exactly what Trump's doing right now, by the way, and that you are a hypocrite who just dances to the tune of whatever is socially acceptable at the time, we all know that Grokpedia exists now. But if you don't, Grokpedia is Twitter's version of Wikipedia, but instead of being biased and falsely representing history and stories, to simply meet the narratives that are socially considered to be politically accurate, Grokpedia just tells you what happened in any given historical event, and that's warts and all. So no, it's not pro-conservative. It actually exposes both sides of the party and any actions that were given by both political parties. And also any given scenario, and just tells you what happened, because that's what places like Wikipedia, for example, were originally meant to be for, except they haven't really been, obviously, these days. Anyways, if you go ask Grok if Democrats ever deported illegal migrants, you get an interesting historically backed response that will definitely make someone like Angry Joe cower in fear and cover his eyes screaming. So what did Grok have to say with actual data to back it up? Well, it said this. Yes, Democratic U.S. presidents have deported millions of undocumented immigrants, often referred to as illegals in the query, frequently at higher rates than their Republican counterparts. Uh-oh, Joe. This enforcement has been a bipartisan norm for decades, driven by laws like the 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, signed by President Bill Clinton, which expanded deportation tools. Below, Grok, break it down by key Democratic administrations, focusing on formal removals, court-ordered deportations, and returns, quick expulsions at the border, which also count as deportations in total enforcement stats. These figures come from U.S. Department of Homeland Security data and analysis by nonpartisan groups like the Migration Policy Institute. Uh-oh, Joe, I'm about to own you even further. You're ready for the actual truth that the people you're cheerleading for are actually deporting illegal immigrants even more than your big bad Donald Trump? Alrighty, let's keep it going. As seen here, Grok uses actual data from the American records that Bill Clinton, a Democrat, not a Republican, Joe, deported roughly 12 million plus illegal migrants during his presidency. In fact, as Grok says there on the right, Bill Clinton currently has the record for the highest amount of deportations by a U.S. president, with a resounding 93% of illegal Mexicans being deported under Democrat rule, Joe. 93%, you idiotic goatee-wearing Superboy shirt-having moron. Why aren't you mad at the Democrats for deporting your own people at a 93% rate? Where was your outrage for this? Oh, right, you, like the Democrats, because G Fuel is aligned with them clearly. That's why you're still signed, by the way. I get it, Joe. It's okay. But let's keep going. Let's keep proving how wrong and stupid you really are, shall we? Barack Obama, the one everyone seems to love, has also deported a staggering 5 million people during his presidency alone. He was so efficient, by the way, at deporting illegals, as seen there on the right, that the news actually called him the Deporter-in-Chief. Wow, that's a pretty scathing name if someone called that like that today. So again, why aren't you mad at the Obama administration, Joe? Is it because it's not socially acceptable to push back against him because the people you're aligned with politically love Obama so much that they called him Deporter-in-Chief? You spiked-haired weirdo. But I'm sure that's not enough for you, so okay. Here's Joe Biden, who removed 4.4 million illegals in just one presidential run as president, almost reaching, by the way, the same levels that Obama did in 2 full terms in record time. Joe Biden's administration, who apparently advocated for open borders according to people like you, in actuality as seen here on the right, had the highest annual removals of illegal migrants in 2024, coincidentally, right before Donald Trump came into power. Again, Joe, where is your outrage? Why aren't you mad that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were kicking out migrants at almost the same level as Obama in half the time? Why weren't you mad about that one either? Could it be that maybe, just maybe, you're a hypocrite that understands literally nothing that he speaks about and, just like your name suggests, just gets angry and then yells, hoping that if you damage your vocal cords enough, it somehow means that you're also right? And I guarantee you, even though I provided all of these facts, Joe will still cover his ears and go, "No, you're a bigot." Well, Joe, I would rather be labeled a bigot by someone like you than be exposed as an idiot who's also a hypocrite instead, if you ask me. You had people in your own comment section, Joe, making fun of you, like this guy who told you to get into your petty soul gem. That's funny, by the way. Or this guy who used a Duke Nukem meme making fun of you again in your own comment section on your post, by the way. Or this user who says that you're doing the leftist meme of posting the walls of paragraphs that mean absolutely nothing. Like, it's time to stop, Joe. Actually, I'm just kidding. Let's keep going. How about this comment in your own comment section which said, if you're not an illegal immigrant, you have no reason to hate ICE. If you are an illegal immigrant, you don't belong here. It's not difficult to understand, Joe. Look, I think this is plenty, but Joe, like I said in my earlier posts, you're not angry anymore. You're kind of just dumb now. Don't get mad at me that you don't either understand Halo fundamentally as a concept, nor do you seem to really understand that the very administration you seem to be white knighting for has far exceeded your Trump bad guy in deportations too, by the way. Why aren't you critical of Obama, Joe, who dropped a whopping, as you can see here, 26,000 bombs over countries like Somalia, Syria, Pakistan, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Yemen in 2006 alone, without, by the way, Congress approving of any of those attacks? Why aren't you celebrating that Donald Trump stopped the war in Israel and Palestine and is also actively working to stop the Ukraine war too? And by the way, both of those wars began under President Joe Biden's watchful eye, a Democrat no less, Joe. Maybe Joe was too busy eating ice cream and deporting over 4 million illegals in just under 4 years to notice that he allowed 2 terrible humanitarian war crises to erupt that he could have stopped but didn't. Trump did though, yet you won't acknowledge that, and you'll instead just ignore it like you do everything else like you have for the past 20 years and then some. So I hereby dub Angry Joe for the rest of time to be Dumb Joe until further notice. You are ill-equipped for conversations like this. You don't understand what Halo even means. You have not even an iota of the politics or historical know-how of the very country that you live in, and you are doing all of this for free to cater to people who wouldn't even lose sleep if you died tomorrow. Besides all of this happening, I still don't hate you, Joe. I'm just disappointed in you. And I think based on everything provided here, you not only lost, but you have also embarrassed yourself in front of everyone. Of course, if you liked what you heard, please subscribe, share the video, and thanks for watching, everyone. And just like those journalists who tried to lie about me recently that I also exposed on the channel, now we got Angry Joe attacking me too like a moron. And all I wanted is to play video games, and these people just hate me for it, but I guess it means that I'm doing something right. Well, anyway, have a good day.